And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Nguyen versus Russell. Step forward.
Flooring contractor Nan Nguyen is suing his former client, Terry Russell, for unpaid labor and materials.
You did some work for the defendant, staining her floors.
Yes, I did.
And she didn't pay you when you were finished with the job.
Correct, yes.
That's what you're suing her for, your
yes.
compensation. And the balance of what she owes you is, how much was the whole job?
The whole job was $9,080.
And how many rooms did you do? How many floors?
We did an existing floor, 450 square feet of the existing floor for her. And I put in a new kitchen floor for her.
And how much did she pay you? Did she give you a deposit?
She didn't give me any deposit or anything.
You bought the materials first? Had you ever done work for her before?
I recently did the same house for her about a year ago.
And she came back to you?
She came back to me because we did a good job and she...
Okay, so that's why you didn't take a deposit from her for this,
yes.
for this job?
Right.
Okay. Who do you live with in this house?
Myself and my 4 dogs and a cat.
You have a son?
Yes, I do.
How old is he?
He is 54.
Where does he live?
He lives in South Sacramento.
And where do you live?
I live in Rockland, California.
How far away is that?
They're about 35 miles.
You were away when Mr. Nguyen came back to complete the floors. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Nguyen doesn't have a key to your house.
Yes, he did have a key to the house.
He had a key. Did you use the key to get into the house, Mr. Nguyen?
Yes, I did.
On what date?
Around August 15th, I believe.
Okay, and that was the arrangement, that you were going to come in and finish the floors? Was that the arrangement that you made with Miss Russell?
Yes, we had a talk of a roughly date that she was going to be out of town for me to come by and complete the floor.
So she was going to be away from what days to what days? Do you recall?
I'm not sure exactly the date.
Well, I want you to get to know exactly the date. That's why you're here. It's your business. This is a business that you have. Because bottom line, she says that you did do the floors, but you didn't contain the cat. Her cat. Her cat was out. Her cat got out and damaged all the floors that you did by leaving paw prints all over, which meant that once it dried, the floors would have to be stripped down again and redone. So that's why we're here. She has a ridiculous counterclaim, which is because of your negligence, the cat got out and ruined her couch.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You put the cat in the laundry room with the cat litter, water, food, period. Is this the first time your son took care of your animals?
Yes, it is.
You must have had tremendous confidence in him if you left him for 3 weeks. So he didn't use his noodle. Not him. Your son didn't use his brains.
Contractor Nan Nguyen says former client Terry Russell owes for work he completed on her home. Terry is countersuing for a damaged couch and poor workmanship.
Okay, the dates are important, Mr. Nguyen.
Yes.
She has 4 dogs and a cat. She clearly took care of the dogs, but there was a cat that was left home to fend for itself, which somebody had to take care of so that the cat wouldn't step all over everything. Do you understand?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. And she told you about that?
She never told me about that. She told me that she was going to be out on those days. And that she would be...
What days?
I believe was the 23rd that she was going to be out of town. We were that there would be a good time for me to come by and finish the floor.
Is that the date that you came in?
Yes.
On the 23rd?
I believe so.
Do you remember what day he came in, Miss Russell?
August 16th.
Were you out of town?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so maybe he has the dates wrong. Who was taking care of your dogs?
My son was staying there taking care of the animals.
And how long had your son been staying there?
For about 3 weeks.
Did you contact her son?
When I got there, her son was there. The entranceway to...
So he was there when...
Yes.
So you used your key.
Yes.
Opened it up. Son was there. Were the dogs there?
Yes.
Interesting. Did you have a discussion with him?
Yes, we did.
Did you tell him what you were going to be doing?
Yes, we did.
And he took the dogs away?
The dogs were contained by a gate. They were all contained with the gate.
Who put the dogs in that area?
When I got there, it was there already. It was in the main living room.
So the dogs were already contained?
Yes.
When you did your work, did the dogs remain in the house contained in that spot?
Yes.
So clearly your son had put the dogs in the contained area.
I contained the dogs before I went.
Is what you're telling me your son didn't take the dogs out for 3 weeks?
No, he took them out, but
Well,
he
that's what I'm
put
saying
them
to-
back in the
That's what I'm saying.
contained area.
That's exactly what I'm saying to you. So
Yeah.
on the date that he came and spoke to your son, your 54-year-old son, that he's not damaged, is he, in
No.
any way, mentally?
No.
So he knew that he was coming in to stain the floors. And I'm sure he had walked the dogs that day. The night before he had walked the dog, because he was staying at your house, you said, for 3 weeks.
Yes.
So he knew where they were coming. And I assume he also feeds the cat
Yes, he does.
and changes the cat litter.
Yes.
Great. So that he knew there was a cat there.
Yes.
So he contains the dogs
Yes.
because he knows he's coming. Your son contains the dogs, but clearly did not contain the cat.
My son claims that he did not speak with Mr. Wynn on that day.
Then you should have brought your son. Who did you bring with you?
My sister.
Well, what did you bring your sister for instead of bringing your son? Your son can tell me what the conversation was. You can't tell me what the conversation was. The objective data is your 54-year-old son, who you were leaving in a responsible position to take care of your 4 dogs and 1 cat, saw this man come in. He contained the dogs because he had to at some point have taken them out and put them back and realized that he had to keep them contained because he was coming to stain the floors. But he didn't think to contain the cat. Where do you keep the cat litter?
In the laundry room.
Good. So laundry room have a door?
Yes, it does.
Then you put the cat in the laundry room with the cat litter, water, food, period. That's what he knows that because he's been taking care of them for 3 weeks. Is this the first time your son took care of your animals?
Yes, it is.
Well, you must have had tremendous confidence in him if you left him for 3 weeks. So he didn't use his noodle. Not him. Your son didn't use his brains.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Was not informed of what Mr. Wynn was going to do. I spoke with him on August 10th when he was at the house working on the floor. So I told him at that time, I said, remember I told you I'm going on vacation and I'm leaving next Saturday for the cabin, so you need to keep me in the loop of what you're going to do. If I had known he was going to stain the floors, I believe it was my responsibility to board the cat, which I would have done. And he didn't keep me informed of what was going on or when things were going to happen.
Listen to me. You hired him and you gave him access to your house. You gave him access to your house so clearly. You look like a lady who likes to be in charge. If he was doing a shoddy job, you wouldn't have given him access to your house and a key to your house. That's how much you trusted him. You also gave your son the authority to do whatever was necessary in your home because you left him alone there for 3 weeks with your animals to take care of 4 dogs and 1 cat. And a 54-year-old man, when he comes in and says, I'm going to finish the floors, he contains the dogs, and then he takes the cat and he puts the cat in the laundry room with a bowl of water and some Friskies and the cat litter, and he checks the floors, he checks the dogs, takes the dogs out. He's careful.
And
you have
again,
to pay him. Just for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're done.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It's destroyed by cat prints.
In the middle of the job, the cat walked in. There was no stopping it.
He did not tell me he was going to stain the floors. Otherwise, I would have boarded the cat.
By the time I get to it, it was gone. It was a very nosy cat.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Stone versus Railing. Step forward.
Scott Stone is suing his ex-roommate, Kristen Railing, for the return of his rent and deposit.
Mr. Stone, you want your rent and your deposit back.
Yes, ma'am.
You moved in with Miss Railing on the 1st of March.
Correct.
And your rent was how much?
$600 per month.
And you gave her a $300 security deposit.
I gave her $1,200 down completely in total.
First month's rent and last month's rent, or was it first
Correct.
month's
Well,
rent?
first month's and then a deposit.
And you gave that to her when you moved in on March 1st?
And 3 separate payments, yes, ma'am.
When were you finished with the payments?
The 28th, I believe, or according to this, the 26th of February, I made the last $900 payment on the $1,200.
And you didn't move in until March 1st?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I want you to tell me, Miss Railing, I read your answer, and your answer says that Mr. Stone was a problem from the beginning.
Yes.
Did that mean March 1st, March 2nd?
Honestly, I noticed the first incident on the night that I came to pick up the final deposit. I went to his house to pick up his deposit, the rest of the money, and he had asked me to give him a ride to a show that he was going to, and I noticed in that time that he was quite intoxicated.
Okay, and then he moved in.
And he had just broken up with his girlfriend, so I assumed that he was going through a rough patch, and he was drinking, and that was fine. But then about 9 days after he moved in on March 9th, I was trying to sleep, and it was about 10 o'clock at night, and I had to get up early. I'm a circus acrobat, and I train a lot, and the whole house goes to bed early. And at about 10 o'clock, 10:30, I heard mumbling and then skerfuffling and then cursing and then a really loud bang coming from Mr. Stone's room, which is directly connected to my room. And so I knocked on the door.
And what time was this?
About 10:30-ish. I wrote my roommate right after the incident, and it was 10:50, so sometime before then. And I knocked on the door, and Mr. Stone was on the floor, drunk. I asked him if he was fighting with somebody. He was alone. I asked him if he had heard any noises, loud banging or anything, and he looked at me as though there was no noise.
Okay, so he was on the floor. He was drunk and he fell on the floor.
Yes.
What happened?
And then I told him that, this kind of behavior wasn't acceptable and that maybe he was unhappy living here, and I never evicted him, but
okay,
it was
you have to give him his money back. Let's be clear.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
You should want to give him his money back. How much did you give him back?
So far, I have given him nothing.
Well, you have to give him his money back.
I tried to break down the bills.
Let me explain something to you. When you have a roommate, you can't, unless you have a written lease with them that requires them to be in bed by 10 o'clock and not drink in the apartment. They can swing from the chandeliers if they want to at 10 o'clock at night. That's what happens when you have a roommate. And if you went in and said to him, this kind of behavior can't continue, maybe you're not happy here, and he took that as this kind of behavior can't continue, this is my behavior. This is what I'm going to do now. So you say, listen, this was a mistake for everybody.
Yeah.
Goodbye. What your answer suggests is, since he didn't give you notice, he doesn't get any money back. Well, you don't break down the bills. He moved out on what date?
He moved out on March 15th.
He's being very, very nice to you. I would have given him his entire $1,200 back that he gave you, because you can't dictate to him. You and your three roommates are responsible people. You should probably, and if you all go to bed at 10 o'clock and get up early in the morning to train, you should probably live alone together or live with somebody whose job is consistent with yours so that they too go to bed at 10 o'clock.
When we spoke beforehand.
If it's not in writing and part of your lease, it doesn't exist. He's only suing you for $900. He's suing for the return of his security deposit and for half a month's rent. He's being very reasonable. Don't be ridiculous. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. We're done.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy. So get close.
He bailed on us.
Hey, I won, so whatever, right?
He fell down drunk and was cursing and screaming.
There might have been some cursing, there might have been some mumbling, but I don't think I was being out of line. I definitely wasn't drunk.
What friendship?
Everything has lifespan, and some things just need to be let go of, right?
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter, Turner versus Smith. Step forward.
Renee Turner is suing bicyclist Brandon Smith for crashing into her parked car.
Ms. Turner, it is your claim that the defendant damaged your car with his bicycle.
Yes.
That he was riding, and you didn't see the incident.
Correct.
Your car was parked at the time, and I assume you have a police report.
I do.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Was yours the only vehicle that was hit?
To my knowledge, yes, but in the accident report, supposedly there was another vehicle in front of mine, and that was what he had run into.
It says here you had been drinking alcohol prior to riding your bike. Is that correct, sir?
Says she was at work when bicyclist Brandon Smith crashed into her parked car.
When did this accident take place?
March 1st
Of this year?
of this year.
You were riding your bicycle where, sir?
I was riding it south in Solana Beach on 2nd Street.
What time?
Can't remember off the top of my head, roughly in the afternoon.
Where had you been?
I had been at Pizza Port getting lunch.
What happened?
I was riding, there were parked cars, there was traffic as well. I reached back to grab a drink of water. My bottle is located under my seat. While I was doing that, a car passed dangerously close, lost control of my bike, and I woke up to a passerby holding my head to the ground, saying that I was bleeding profusely and that the ambulance was on its way.
Okay. Now I'd like to see the police report.
Absolutely.
So you're in your place of business?
Yes.
And you heard a commotion outside, ambulances, etc.?
Yes.
You heard commotion. You came out sometime later. What time did you come out?
I didn't come out until after I was finished with work at about 9:30 or 10 that night.
Tell me what you found on your car.
I found this note from the sheriff's department. Absolutely.
Okay, so the police officer gave you an event number. It indicates your vehicle was hit by a bicyclist. There was an accident report taken. They gave you a case number, North Coastal Station, which is the police station, the badge number of the police officer, and as a result of this, you took a look at the car.
Right.
Could I see photographs of the car?
Yes, you may.
Basically a very long, deep scratch.
Yes.
And some denting.
Mm-hmm.
Was yours the only vehicle that was hit?
To my knowledge, yes, but in the accident report, supposedly there was another vehicle in front of mine, and that was what he had run into after mine.
It says here you had been drinking alcohol prior to riding your bike. Is that correct, sir?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And follow us on Twitter.
Yeah, it says here you had been drinking alcohol prior to riding your bike. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct.
Okay, can I see an estimate for the damage to your car?
Yes. I have two estimates. Would you like both?
Yes. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,200. We're done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excuse me, step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
To me, told me I had directly done damage to her car.
Oh, he said he was totally compliant.
I apologized and wanted to see what was going on.
He wanted to fix the situation until I sent the assessment of how much it was going to be to fix it.
And then I got an estimate for $3,000, and something was fishy, so I stopped responding to her.
Then he just didn't respond.
And I tried to call her bluff and see if she would actually go with her insurance.
I'm just glad that I'm finally going to be getting my car fixed.
As she should have, but that didn't exactly pay off.
Don't park your car on the street.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Simpson versus Mullins. Step forward.
Doris Simpson is suing her ex-boyfriend, Ulysses Mullins, for unpaid rent, hotel costs, and a broken tablet.
Miss Simpson, the defendant took you in with your children, is that right?
Yes.
And you had a relationship with him for several months?
Incorrect, but yes.
How long?
About 3 months.
And during that 3-month period, you and your kids lived in this, you have a home or an apartment?
Apartment, ma'am.
Where had you lived prior to moving in with Mr. Mullins?
I was in my own residence in Burnsville.
And what happened with that residence?
When I met the party, we agreed to move in together, and so I gave up my home to move in with him.
So you were paying rent?
Yes.
In what month did you move in with him?
At the beginning of April.
What?
Can I please say something? I just wanted to clarify, Your Honor, when me and Ms. Simpson met, she was actually in transition from moving from her place in Burnsville, and when she moved in, her and her family moved in with me. They were actually living in this hotel, and she was paying like $80, $90 a week. I told her she can help me, you know, we can...
Just a second. Were you living in a hotel?
Yes.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
8 and 3. But at that time, I only had one child, and that was the 2-year-old.
Okay. Did you pay him any rent in April?
No, I didn't.
Did you pay him any rent in May?
Yes.
How much?
$215.
Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
Did she pay you any rent in May?
No, ma'am.
What about in June?
Yes, ma'am.
How much rent did she pay you in June?
She paid me a total of $400.
What date in June?
June, let's say the middle of June, June 15th.
Do you know when you paid him?
Yes,
money?
it was in the middle of May.
And then there came a time when Mr. Mullins asked you and your children to leave?
Yes.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Whoever moved move back into the house with your children?
Not.
Did you ever stay over at the defendant's house? He's looking at you.
No, I did not.
Is that right?
No, Your Honor, that's not true.
I have proof that I was not in his home overnight.
I'd like to see it.
Ex-boyfriend Ulysses Mullins owes for rent, hotel costs, and a broken tablet.
How long after the $400 did he ask you to leave?
The money was given around May, maybe the 19th, and then I came back for a couple of days, and then I was put out.
I don't know what you want.
Well, I'm asking for my rent because for June, and I gave him a total of $400 altogether, and that was for May and June. It wasn't no $400 for June. So I did pay rent for May and June, and I'm suing for the June part because I was kicked out at the end of May.
You didn't pay any rent in April?
No, I didn't.
You lived there April and May, 2 months?
Partially of May.
Well, on what date did you leave in May?
Oh, May 19th, I'm sorry.
Is that when she left?
Yes, Your Honor, that sounds about right, but she also moved back in shortly after that, and also...
Just a minute, when did she move back in?
To be honest, I don't think she really moved out May 19th because that means that she moved out in between our birthdays, and she was still living with me for her birthday into June. Her birthday is at the end of May, mine is in the beginning. And this is my first time hearing about May 19th. And she moved in my home in February.
Okay.
So I want to say she moved out in June.
How much was she supposed to pay you in rent?
The agreement that we had was when she do get situated, it was going to be $200 a month towards the rent. And then, I think we talked about like...
Fine.
Yes.
$200 for rent. When's your birthday?
My birthday's on May the 29th.
Did you take her out for her birthday?
No, ma'am.
Was she still living in your house?
Yes, ma'am.
In the end of May?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
See, usually men don't have a memory for that. Got it?
Yes.
So you were living there minimally for 2 months. He said you actually moved in February.
No.
You say you moved in the beginning of April.
Yes.
But you paid him no rent in April.
Yes.
And you paid him $400 in May, and you lived there until the end of May.
In the middle of May.
No, you were there for your birthday. He remembers that.
I was not there for my birthday.
Where were you for your birthday?
I was at a friend's house for my birthday.
How are you so certain she was there on her birthday?
I remember the day. I remember the days following up to it. And I also remember the fact that she didn't move out until maybe a week or two after that, after her birthday.
After her birthday?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now I want you to tell me about this tablet that you claim the defendant broke.
Judge Judy continues on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Now I want you to tell me about this tablet that you claim the defendant broke.
Yes, I was coming over to work things out with...
On what date?
Probably the last week in August.
So you came to his house?
Yes.
Did you ever move back into the house with your children?
Not.
Did you ever stay over between the beginning of June and August? Did you ever stay over at the defendant's house? He's looking at you.
No, I did not.
Is that right?
No, Your Honor, that's not true.
Well, I have verification, so I have proof that I was not in his home overnight.
I'd like to see it.
Okay, here you go. And prior to that, like I said, I was...
Just a second. This says that you didn't move in there until June 25th.
Right. And that's why, because I was staying with a friend when I had removed...
All this says is that you moved in there June 25th.
Right.
Okay, would you give this back to her, please? Very good. Now, you went over there to try to work things out in August. Had he invited you over?
Yes.
Okay, you came over by yourself or with the children?
By myself.
Okay, what time?
It was maybe during the day.
What do you mean maybe during the day? What is that?
About 11 or 12.
Okay, and you came over, and what happened?
I was walking as he let me in his front door because, he has to come and let me in. So as he was coming in to let me in, we're walking down this long hall to get to his apartment. And kind of like halfway to his apartment, he kind of grabs my belongings out the side of on the side of me, and that's when my tablet has slipped out onto the floor / apartment into the hall.
So it fell?
Yes.
Are we finished here? Are we done?
No, Your Honor. I also have a counter suit.
Forget it. have a counterclaim for supporting her and her children for the months she was living with you. I don't want to hear it. Two people decide to live together, it doesn't work out, they go their separate ways. She's not entitled to any rent back because your agreement was she was supposed to pay $200 a month rent, which is exactly what she did. And there was nothing vicious about what happened with your tablet that fell to the ground that was wrapped up in your sweater, right?
Yes, but he was horse playing, though.
We're done. Goodbye. Your case is dismissed.
Step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He broke something of mine.
She actually dropped her tablet herself. She had it in her arm like this.
He should replace it. That's it.
And as I was removing the items from her hand, being a gentleman,
he was like, he'll pay for it.
She did this and it fell, and it's not my fault.
There's no more continue as a friendship.
I got to protect my heart.
I wish him the best.
It really just describes her character and her personality.
You may be seated.
You two were neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
You have actually a common yard.
Yes, ma'am.
And there is a fence separating the two houses. From what I gather, the fence is actually on your property. And your complaint is that the Kaufmans had a whole bunch of junk that they piled up that was leaning against the fence.
Yes, ma'am.
And as a result of that and a tree that's on their property, the fence went over. And you approached the Kaufmans and said, listen, let's split the fence, even though I asked you to remove this junk so it wouldn't keel over, and you didn't. And the Kaufmans said, it's your fence. You want a fence? Put up a fence. We're not splitting the cost of the fence. Not very neighborly, but certainly within his prerogative. The next thing you did was you trimmed a tree that belongs to him.
Yes, ma'am.
A tree that was coming over on your property.
Yes, ma'am.
Something that is your right to do. You have a right to trim the tree that is encroaching on your property. He doesn't have to pay for it because that's another part of your lawsuit. Because he says, you trimmed it, good for you. I'm not complaining that you trimmed it, but I'm not going to pay for your trimming it because I didn't do it. So the only thing that's left here is this fence business. So now you have to show me photographs because you would acknowledge, Mr. and Mrs. Kaufman, that if whatever you had put on your side of the fence caused the fence to go over, it would be your responsibility to reestablish the fence.
Yes.
You understand that?
Yes.
Now, I don't know whether he can establish that. If he can't establish that, he has no case, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see the pictures. Bert, did I make that clear to you? I just want to make sure that I made it clear to you.
Crystal.
Crystal, good. What do you keep these old tires in the backyard for?
I don't know what pictures you're looking at.
Oh, okay, is this your backyard? Could you show that to me, please?
That's the inside game.
That's against my gate on my front gate. That's to hold it in because I had two larger dogs.
Well, that's actually in
Just
the
a
front.
second.
I'm
I
sorry.
can't listen to both of you. Is that not the fence he's talking about?
This is my fence. This is on my property.
Ma'am.
The fence that he's talking about in this picture is on the right side picture here.
Okay. You're talking about this wood fence?
Yes, ma'am. What, if I may, those tires and stuff were leaning against the fence, and that's a new fence there now. He put those tires, that's on his side of the fence.
I understand it's on his side of the fence, but is that your fence?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I would like you to show me with a circle, here are your pictures back, of Kaufman's property leaning up against your fence. The Kaufman's property touching your fence. Make a circle.
This was all leaning against the fence. It was moved, I pushed it over there.
I just want to see before the fence went down.
Yes. That's the old fence, and that's the stuff leaning against there.
What?
The section, or what I've seen in the pictures of the fence that he has there, he had a pile of wood on his side before that, and it had gone over. I had put that up, but the part in the fence that he attempted to repair, as he states in it, is 50 feet past that. And I'm saying the part that he's talking about here on the property, it's here.
I just want to see photographs of your stuff leaning against his fence.
Okay.
You can't lean anything against his fence.
It was to support it.
I don't. Okay. You can't lean anything against his fence.
Okay.
Period. I can't see that at all.
That's a wine barrel, Your Honor, that he had leaning against there. There was actually 2 of them.
Oh, I was trying to figure out what that was. It's a rain barrel. Did this portion of the fence go down?
Yes, it did. There was 2 wine barrels, Your Honor. And the first, that's the second one there. It fell against it as well, but they both did.
I want to see this portion of the fence where this property that can't be leaning against your part, because he says it's your fence. So he can't lean anything against your fence. You have to show that that caused damage. So that's what I want to see.
Your Honor. Yeah.
Well, I know you're telling me that, but I have to see that here. You're following me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, good. What's that wine barrel doing there anyway, sir, just for my own information?
That section of the fence all through there, that between us, his whole fence was falling to the east on our side, and which doesn't have pictures. We had put several boards up to try to support this.
How long, Mr. Jackson, have you been living in that house?
January of '92, Your Honor.
And when you bought the house, was the fence there?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
As it is shown in this picture?
Yes, ma'am, the original fence.
It's time for a new fence.
Your Honor?
That old wood fence was going to come down at one point or another. So this is your problem, Mr. Jackson. You would like the Kaufmans to be neighborly and say, listen, this fence is 25 years old. It is an eyesore. It's old. It's rickety. Let's do the right thing as neighbors, because you've been living there also for a very long time. We'll split the cost of a fence with you.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you would like. He doesn't want to be neighborly. Do you understand?
Yes,
so if you want to build a fence, build it on your property and pay for it. I assume that you don't want anything to do with them, so you want to have something separating the 2 homes. So do it. He doesn't have to share the cost with you, sir.
Ma'am.
This is not a new fence. I can go huff and puff and blow your house down. The fence is 25 years old. You had junk there. He has junk there.
Ma'am, I have no junk there at all, but I do have a lot. I retained an attorney 6 years ago, and the attorney put them on notice. They said, I have their letter, that they would pay for half to maintaining the fence.
This fence doesn't need maintaining. It needs demolition.
Right. And at that time, my son and I maintained our portion of it. We assumed that the Kaufmans would take care of theirs. They never did. Hence, it blew down. And it was that section that blew down.
What?
We did send a response letter to him, and he never communicated further.
Ms. Kaufman, I think that you and your husband are making a big mistake. I want you to understand that. There's so much tragedy going on in the world, and there's so much acrimony going on in the world. The place that you should feel as if it's a safe haven is in your home. So you've been living as neighbors for over 2 decades. Why in the world, over something that is relatively inexpensive, would you not want to be good neighbors and say, I have a home, and if my neighbor comes to me and say, you know what, this fell down, and it would be nice if we got together and put up some new trees. Will you go half with us? Sure.
Your Honor,
you think I'm going to diminish the quality of my life by having a neighbor next door who I have to put my eyes down when I drive into the driveway, I don't smile good morning? You're ridiculous. However, he has no case. If the fence is on his property, if he wants to maintain it, he has to pay for it. What?
May I explain a little bit of history on why we're not really see eye to eye with Mr. Jackson?
No, what you have to do is you have to put a period. You can put a period to history, and you can say, you know what? You know his first name?
Yes.
Do you refer to each other by your first names?
We try to avoid them because of his complaints.
There you go. That's right. There you go. Over nonsense.
9 complaints with the county over ridiculous things that are not truths.
Well, let me tell you something, sir. I have to tell you. I don't know what you and your wife do, but I'm looking at this junk that's in your backyard. I don't know what the rest of your life is like, but I don't know why somebody would keep all this junk in their backyard. I don't know why.
That was just on one part of the side yard.
Just a second. I don't care if it... Listen. I grew up with a place for everything and everything in its place, and if something is trash and you're ready to throw it out, you put it on the curb and you call sanitation. You don't put it in your backyard. You clearly think, oh, we're going to put this in the backyard. It'll look nice. This air conditioner is going to look nice in the backyard. This old barrel is going to look nice in the backyard. Well, if that's the way you want to live, fine. What I'm suggesting to you is if you try to avoid him, maybe there's a reason, and maybe you should just say, you know, enough is enough. And a first wonderful starting place would be, say, I'll split the cost of a fence with you. You have no case against them. Goodbye. We're done.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Are you guys excused? You may step out.
He has been a pain for 24 years.
I just hope that we can become neighbors.
You know, when you've been harassed and poked at with complaints with county
and bury the hatchet and move on with our lives.
After a while, you sort of have to draw a line in the sand and don't take it anymore.
I plan on trying to get along with the Kaufmans as well as I can.
I wish we could have gotten along with him.
I have no ill feelings towards anybody.
But I'm not about to be his friend.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sly versus Randolph. Step forward.
Nigel Sly is suing her former friend, Linda Randolph, for borrowing her car and totaling it.
Miss Sly, according to you, you've known the defendant for 20 years. She's sort of close to you. She borrowed your car and totaled it. You want her to replace the car. What kind of car did you have?
A Honda Accord, 96.
When did you purchase it?
I purchased it at the beginning of the year, around February.
From whom?
From her daughter's boyfriend.
What did you pay for the car?
I paid $1,000.
Did you have an accident with the car?
Yes.
And as a result of that accident, was the car left undrivable?
Yes.
So I'd like you to explain to me why you think you're not responsible to replace the car that you were driving, you had an accident with. Certainly she did not have collision insurance with the car because the car is 20 years old. She paid a relatively small amount. Would you check on that car for me, please, Bird? Why you don't think it's your responsibility?
Okay, so on said day that I borrowed Miss Sly's car, I used it and went down the road. I did have it was like a car accident. Not like I hit anybody, wasn't speeding. It was the car itself. The roads were wet and the car spun out of control.
So?
When the police arrived in the ambulance and all so forth, they explained to me that the car...
No, you can't tell me what anybody said to you.
Judge Judy continues.
Now, she let you borrow the car on numerous occasions, and you returned the car on numerous occasions. Right. On this occasion, you had an accident with the car. So don't tell me that the car was bad, because you had used the car often before.
Okay.
You had used the car often before. Okay. Without any incident.
Without any incident.
Correct. So.
Okay. So at the accident scene.
How much does it cost?
$2,600.
And you paid $1,000 for it?
Yes, it was a used car from some guy he knew. It was just sitting there, so he wanted to get rid of the car. So
fine. It's a bargain. Judging for the plaintiff, the amount of $1,000. We're done. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
And told me that she got into a car accident.
And the car spun out of control.
I asked her what happened. She said that she swerved.
She was upset.
And did a 360 and rolled 3 times.
Her car was totaled.
She was going to get a car.
Take the responsibility, but she didn't want the car I wanted to give her.
That wasn't to the condition my car was in.
I was purchasing her car. She didn't want it.
My car was in good condition.
She wanted a better car.
And she was just going to get any
$2,600 car. I didn't have it.
Just have a seat, huh?
Miss Anderson, you and Miss Coleman used to be friends, and then sadly you had a falling out. Subsequent to the falling out on the 6th of November of last year, it is your claim that Miss Coleman assaulted you.
Yes.
Miss Coleman says it was a fight, but it was a fight that you started. You want to tell me where this happened?
Your Honor, can I start with how it happened, if that's okay with you?
Sure.
Okay, Your Honor, on June 13th, Antoinette and her cousins was on the phone. They was having an argument because Antoinette and her sister had slept with the...
No. We're not going to go back to talking about anybody else's bad business.
Yes.
Great.
Okay, well, Antoinette had texted me and cursed me out.
Is that the text message she sent you?
No, this is the text message, my reply, because I sent it to her witness and my witness because we were all hanging together. So I sent it to them so it wouldn't be any nonsense, my reply to her.
Just a second. I would like to see her text to you.
I don't have her text to me.
Do you have it?
No. This happened a year ago, Your Honor. I have the reply because it was saved in my witness's phone.
What good is the reply going to do to me if I didn't see her text?
Okay, because it was just telling her that I didn't have anything to do with her family business. Leave me out of it.
Fine. Do you remember getting that text that she didn't have anything to do with your family business?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so that was a while ago. That was in June.
Yes.
And?
So after this time, I was getting threatening messages. I told them then and there, please.
No, not them.
Antoinette and Andrea, her witness.
These two?
Yes, and their other sister. Please stop contacting contacted me, I would call the police. It stopped after like 3-4 days. So this was June. Going to November the 6th, I have not had any contact with them at all. And at this time, myself, my witness, and another female was coming out of the Orpheum Theater. We seen some family members, close friends that we knew. We stopped and we talked to them. As we were standing there talking to them, one of the other people that was in her group came up, and I spoke to her, and we were all just talking. At that time...
What was the name of that person?
Her name was Monica.
Was she with you that evening?
Yes.
Okay.
So she came in and came between us.
Who came between us?
Monica. She just came over, you know.
I don't So far, I'm not seeing that you had any contact with her at all. So far, you were talking to some of your friends. Somebody that was with her group came up and talked to you. Where was she?
I didn't know at this time.
Okay, so you didn't know?
Yes. So I was facing the wall, so my back was against the crowd. Next thing I know, personally, I woke up, I was laying on the ground. I have a videotape right here that...
Just tell me what happened.
Okay, I woke up. She was over me, straddling me, grabbing me like this. I heard her witness, Andrea Coleman, hollering, "Let them fight, let them fight." She was right at my head, and I've seen
Who was
her.
it?
Andrea Coleman was at my head, and I seen her, and I thought she was attacking me also. So I immediately started to attack once I kind of realized what was going on. I started to fight back. That's when she bit my hand, and then a guy out the blue.
Who bit your hand?
Antoinette. And that's when a guy from the crowd came and grabbed her up off of me. And I stayed there days because I'm trying to focus because I just woke up and I'm trying to figure out these people I've known for over 20 years. My kids and Andrea's kids are cousins. I could never believe that they were attacking me just out the blue. So I'm standing there, and then immediately I just left. I didn't tell my witness or anybody what I was doing. I went next door. I called the police, and I have the police statement.
I'd like to see it.
Here you go.
Now, Ms. Coleman, I would like you to tell me your version of it, and then I'm going to see the video.
Okay, on November 6th, we was at the comedy show, and like she said, prior to that, we got into an altercation over the phone.
In June?
Yes, back in June. Barnetta is a busybody. She liked to be involved and stuff.
I didn't let her tell me because I didn't think that you wanted 10 million people to hear details of what the argument was about. Was I right about that?
Yeah, she was right.
Right. So I'm not going to let you tell me that she was a busybody.
Okay. So then at the Orpheum, how it's made, they have a downstairs and an upstairs. We were sitting downstairs, they were sitting upstairs. So we were coming out, they were coming down. So I seen Barnetta, but I proceeded to walk out of the Orpheum. Barnetta decided to follow me out of the Orpheum. So by then, all of these people is coming out of the Orpheum Theater. I get a few push from behind. I turn around, Barnetta Anderson is behind me. So I continue to walk out of the theater. But when we got outside of the theater, we stopped waiting for everybody else to come out the theater. Barnetta stopped right along with me, behind me. So by then I'm agitated because I already done got pushed by you. So then,
well, you don't know who pushed you.
Well, I turned around, Barnetta was behind me.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
By then, I had confronted Barnetta like, you know, why are you following me? At this point, all I remember is her pushing me back, and then it was just like an attack. And we ended up on the floor because my sister tried to come and grab me. But when she grabbed me, she fell back, I fell back. Barnetta fell on top of me. That's why Barnetta had scrapes to the knees, because she fell on top of me. I pushed Barnetta off of me. And when I pushed Barnetta off of me, that's when the tape shows me on top of Barnetta. Barnetta never blacked out. Barnetta fought back. It was a mutual altercation.
It was started by somebody. Did she get an order of protection against you?
We both had one.
No.
Yes, she did.
She did?
Yes.
She filed for protective order? Mm-hmm. Did you have a hearing?
Yes.
And was she granted a protective order?
Yes.
Did you file a protective order?
Yes.
Did you get a protective order?
They put a temporary. Yes.
Temporary. Did you ultimately get a protective order?
Yes.
Let me see it. For how long?
Until we actually had our hearing.
Did you have a hearing?
Yes.
Is my question. And what happened after the hearing?
After the hearing.
It was dismissed.
It was dismissed.
Correct. So she filed for protective order. You had a hearing. Court heard that testimony because it all relates to the same night, and her protective order was granted. After she filed for protective order, you filed for protective order. You had a hearing. Court heard your testimony. I assume you brought any witnesses that you wanted to.
No, my witness wasn't able to make it.
I suppose you brought any witness with all these people who were around who would have testified on your behalf. Court heard the testimony and dismissed your application for a protective order. Said you didn't need it. Didn't believe you. Now I'll see the tape.
Your Honor, we also have a voicemail also. Andrea Coleman, like maybe 10 minutes after the fight, when she talked about what had happened and I got what I deserved. And it's very vulgar. I don't know if you want to hear it here in court.
Oh, I love vulgarity.
Okay. As you can see in that tape, Your Honor, I'm not moving. That's me with my hands up, not moving. Andrea's at my head and Antoinette is on top of me. You see my legs is not moving at this time, Your Honor.
But your arms are.
Yeah, because you're shaking me.
Are you wearing the green sweater?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the guy pulling her off of me, Your Honor. And now he's exiting her out the door. We were never out.
No, he wasn't exiting it. Someone else was.
So you was outside the door again.
Okay. What injuries did you suffer?
Your Honor, I have pictures also. Actually,
I'd like to see them.
I have of the before and the after. I still have the scar on my forehead and also on my legs. I also have a medical. I went straight to the doctor. After I took those pictures in the ambulance and I went to the hospital, I had various injuries to my head where she pulled out my hair.
Are these stitches in your forehead?
No, that's actually a dent which I still have in my head from I hit my head on something which made me pass out. I have a condition called Chiari malformation which caused you to be dizzy and unstable. I had 2 brain surgeries after this incident. I would never attack her when I'm already dealing with instability.
I would like to hear the voice message. Did you call her?
Yes.
And she was there. She was the one standing at your head.
At my head.
Right. I'd like to hear her.
You have 2 saved messages. Saved message. At the end of the day, tell your pop.
I can't hear that.
Nobody killed Barnetta. I'm trying to stop my sister from beating Barnetta. She deserves a well. Let it be done. When the video come out, the 60 did not get jumped. So don't go around talking about stop jumping.
I can't understand. You're going to have to.
You talked about all of us. You low down dirt.
Nice. I'm done. I'm done. Ms. Coleman, all I have to do is tell you this. You are defined by your language.
That's not even me on that phone call.
Who is it?
I don't know.
That's not you?
That is not me on that phone call.
She said she called Barnetta, not her.
That's somebody else's phone. Listen to the phone number. Ask Barnetta what's her phone number.
That was Andrea Coleman, and she also works at the hospital.
And?
So that's how she acts.
Okay, it's a relatively easy case for me. Court of competent jurisdiction has already heard your complaint against each other, found in favor of the plaintiff. I'm going to do the same. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. We're done.
Thank you.
Why is our excuse when they step out?
Because Barnetta is a busybody and she likes to be in stuff that don't have nothing to do with her.
Well, actually, I'm very happy that she's seen the truth and knew that that was the truth.
Because she was speaking on things that didn't have nothing to do with her.
These women are very vicious, and she threw the first blow. By the voicemail you can hear, they're dangerous.
She got what she deserved.
Oh, yeah, I feel like, she should have to pay.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Calitri versus Duncan. Step forward.
Devin Calitri is suing Clinton Duncan for unpaid car payments and lost wages.
Bird, while I'm doing this and inquiring, would you please look up a 1999 Ford Expedition XLT?
Sure thing.
Okay? Mr. Duncan, I want to start with you. How long have you known the plaintiff?
Since high school, Your Honor.
And she was selling a car. How did you find out she was selling a car?
Through a mutual friend.
And you went and took a look at the car?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
Around mid-March.
Did you see any advertisement for the car, or you just heard it by word of mouth?
Just by word of mouth. Sure.
Did you know what she was asking for the car before you met her?
No, ma'am.
So you met her in mid-March, and she told you what she wanted for the car?
Yes.
How much did she want for the car?
$1,000.
How old are you?
30 or 43.
I sometimes try to transpose digits myself. Doesn't work. I assume before you went to look at the car that you either went on the internet or got a Kelley Blue Book value of the car.
Yes,
I assume you did.
Rough estimate.
And what was the rough estimate on the car?
Somewhere around $1,000 to $1,200.
And what source did you use?
Just on the internet, just maybe NADA or something like that.
Do you have a price for the car?
$950.
Is there a range, or it's just $950?
It's between $825 and $950.
Now, I assume that before you went to sell the car, you also looked up its value.
I did, Your Honor.
And I assume a Kelley Blue Book is a Kelley Blue Book.
My Kelley Blue Book value actually came up differently. I did it online. I don't know if that makes any difference at all. But my range going from a fair up to great, excellent condition was $1,800 to $2,800.
I'm going to give you an opportunity to go and find that site for me.
Okay.
Where you looked it up on your Kelley Blue Book online.
Okay.
And then come back.
Okay.
Great.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Her story's beginning to look a lot better. It was beginning to look lousy in the beginning of this case. Now it's beginning to look a lot better. Got it?
Yes.
Okay. So let's you and I not play with each other.
Right.
Belitri says Clinton Duncan owes for a Ford Expedition she sold him and for lost wages. Clinton is countersuing for a signed title to the vehicle.
Okay, got it for me?
I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to take a look at it.
And I did it in private sale to in good condition, which is the second to the lowest rating you could put on the car.
Your Blue Book value, Kelley Blue Book official guide. Could I see yours, Bird? 1999 Ford. What kind of car was yours?
A Ford Expedition. It was an XLT model.
Ford Expedition. Well, you know, they have an auction, very good, $825 to $950 if you bought it at auction. But then the retail value is $25.75. She's absolutely right. Got it? Okay, now you can take this down. $25.75. Okay, she says she sold it to you for $1,800. You gave her $1,000 down. You were supposed to pay off the rest in 8 payments. You made 2 payments. That's what she says. Her story's beginning to look a lot better. It was beginning to look lousy in the beginning of this case. Now it's beginning to look a lot better. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's you and I not play with each other.
Right.
Good?
Good.
So you paid her $200 of the $800 that you owed her, and then you stopped paying. You want to tell me why?
Yes, Your Honor. The four-wheel drive was inoperable.
The what?
The four-wheel drive was inoperable.
Okay, so now we come down to it. So you stopped paying her. You paid her $200. You were driving the car. You paid her $200 over several months, correct?
Well, I paid her the $200 for the taxes and transfer, but it wasn't toward the vehicle.
Yes, it was. What do you pay her taxes and transfer? You don't pay her taxes. She's not transferring it. You're transferring it. Pay your own taxes and transfer. Now, you paid her the $1,000 on what date, Mr. Duncan?
On or around March 22nd.
Is that the day you picked up the car?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that the day she gave you the title?
Yes, Your Honor.
And she trusted you to make the payments?
I didn't make a payment. I think I gave it to her then. I think.
You what?
I paid it to her then. I'm pretty sure.
Through what?
I don't have the dates.
You think I have a little bit of a hearing problem. You're muttering. Do you think that between the two of these we're not going to get to the bottom of this?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do you not recall that either?
No, Your Honor.
You know, unless I get the truth from you, you're not going to get a signed over title. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I hope you have a nice bathroom where you can wallpaper that thing. You want to start again?
Belitri says Clinton Duncan owes for a Ford Expedition she sold him and for lost wages. Clinton is countersuing for a signed title to the vehicle.
Now, you started to have mechanical problems with the car, so you stopped paying her.
Well, it had mechanical problems when I took possession of it.
Who cares? That's your problem. When did he make his first payment?
He made his first payment on May the 10th of 2016. He paid $100 in cash to actually our mutual friend that had arranged the sale of the car.
He paid
$100 cash.
Who did he give the cash to?
Our mutual friend, Kevin.
Name?
Kevin.
Kevin what? You know Kevin? Because somebody has his phone number. It's very easy to figure out. You know Kevin?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that the mutual friend through whom you found out she was selling the car?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you give Kevin for $100 on or about May 10th to give her? That's very easy. I call Kevin. Did you give Kevin $100?
Not that I recall, Your Honor. I don't have.
Now that's better. Not that I recall is better. Now, do you not recall another $100 payment?
No, Your Honor.
When was the next payment?
June the 15th of 2016. He gave Kevin a $100 Visa gift card to give to me.
Do you not recall that either?
No, Your Honor.
Don't recall it. You know, unless I get the truth from you, you're not going to get a signed over title. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to start again?
I assumed that we were done when this title was signed over to me, and that was it.
Well, you have a counterclaim. You want her to sign the title over to you correctly.
Yes, Your Honor.
I can either order her or I can not order her to do that. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now we're going to start again. Do you remember giving Kevin a visa on June 15th?
No, Your Honor. I do
No.
not.
Well, I hope you have a nice bathroom where you can wallpaper that thing. Was that the last payment that you got from him?
Yes, Your Honor. And I do have text messages of him promising to send future payments that never arrived.
I'd like to see them.
I can tell you the date that the messages were on. On April the 20th, I asked him if he's filed the title, and he said he had not had time, and he requests my address because he's going to send a payment to me. On 4/28, I followed up with him and asked him if he'd mailed anything to me yet because I had not received anything.
See, this is the problem.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Money. You're entitled to your $600. Unless you sign the title over properly, you're going to remain liable for this car. You don't want to do that, right?
I do not, Your Honor.
So my suggestion is that you sign the title over to him, give the title to Bird, and he's not going to get the title back or any other fees back until there's proof that he is registering the car. Do you understand?
I do, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because now this has been going on for quite some time. When, for the first time, did you go and try to register the car?
I'm not 100% sure of the date, but when I went down there, I couldn't get it transferred.
I don't care. You picked up the car on the 22nd of March. On what date did you go down to the DMV? And that would be the date that you would contact her and say, I can't register this car.
We met each other down there, Your Honor. And something happened. We couldn't get it done that day, so then it was mailed to me and not completely filled out, and I couldn't transfer it then either. So it needed more signatures.
Whose signature? Hers.
Yes.
Okay. I would sign over the title to him.
I have no problem doing that, Your Honor.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600.
Your Honor, wait, I did have a claim also for...
I know, you had claim for your time.
I do, and Your Honor, the defendant lives almost 4 hours away from me, and I had received word from a mutual friend that he was not in town on weekends, so I had to take 2 days off work to go there to repossess the vehicle.
I'm not giving you any more money. $600 is what he owes you. Sign the title in the right place. We're done.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next...
Of course, I'm pleased with her decision, as it was the right thing to do.
I've got a $3,000 estimate for the four-wheel drive to be repaired, and that's the main reason I bought the vehicle.
I just feel bad. I tried to help a friend out, and he let me down.
She lives 4 or 5 hours away from me, and...
I actually had the car inspected before I sold it, and I had a full mechanical write-up of it.
I just went on her word. Probably not the best decision in the world.
Because I hadn't decided if I wanted to get rid of the car or purchase a new car myself.
Get them inspected first.
Cash up front.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Butler versus Clark. Step forward.
Makeup artist Alexandra Butler is suing Maisha Clark for a false chargeback on PayPal.
How long have you been a makeup artist, Miss Butler?
About 10 years I've been a makeup artist.
And when did Miss Clark contact you about doing makeup for her wedding, for the bridal party?
She reached out to me May 11, 2016.
And when was the wedding scheduled?
It was scheduled for June 2nd, 2017.
More than a year later?
Yes, ma'am.
And you entered into a contract with her?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a copy of that contract?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it. Do you have a copy of the contract?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see yours as well. Okay, so you signed this contract.
Yes.
And you sent her $905.
Actually $931.65.
And then something happened and the date of the wedding changed.
Yes, correct.
Tell me when it changed to.
It changed from June 2nd, 2017 to October 29th, 2016. We had experienced a miscarriage, so we decided to move up the wedding to start our family.
And you called her?
I emailed her.
When did you advise her that you were moving the date?
September 15th.
And what did she say?
I asked her if she would be available the date of October 29th, 2016.
Well, that's a short window.
Yes.
So she wasn't available.
She actually said she would be available, but that I would have to start the process all over again, that my funds were non-transferable or non-refundable.
That's ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous.
Listen.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
In the invoice that she paid, which is also another contract, it states that the deposit is non-refundable or transferable.
Don't tell me what it says. Show it to me.
Sure.
I also have
She's not going to be successful.
Alexandra Butler claims Maisha Clark filed a false chargeback on PayPal.
All right, so let's get it together. We have a contract, and I don't have to waste my time any further on this. What happened was you had paid through PayPal?
Yes, correct.
And you contacted them and disputed the charge?
Correct. I disputed
and PayPal looked at this contract, just as I looked at this contract, and said, there's no non-refundable policy in there. The only thing that you put in the contract is, because it's so far away, more than a year away, if you have to cancel before a certain date, you can get her another makeup artist. If for some reason you're not available. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You didn't turn down another appointment for that date?
Actually, I did turn down a lot of appointments
for that date. Well, prove it. First of all, your contract doesn't say that you can keep
she sent.
The contract.
Correct.
The contract that was signed.
Correct.
Doesn't say anything about no refund.
However, in the invoice that she paid, which is also another contract, it states that the deposit is non-refundable or transferable.
Don't tell me what it says. Show it to me.
Sure.
What you are relying on.
I also have
shh. She's not going to be successful. She's not going to be successful.
Right here.
But I'm going to let her show me the invoice. Okay. I don't even have to look at it. Listen to me carefully. This is not a contract. This is a contract. This is signed by the two of you. You prepared the contract.
Correct. Yeah, that is correct.
She signed it. You show me her signature here, anywhere.
Well, her payment to the contract.
No. Listen to me carefully.
Yes, ma'am, sure.
You prepared the contract. Let me give you a brief primer as to what the law is.
Sure.
The person who prepares the contract, if there is a dispute, since you actually created the contract, the courts look at that contract most favorably to the other side.
Correct.
Because you prepared the contract. Your contract doesn't say non-refundable. Period.
I have a question.
But if you can demonstrate to me with names, phone numbers, addresses, contracts that you gave up on that date, I may be sympathetic with you because even though it was not written, she did not give you adequate notice and you actually had an out-of-pocket loss.
I have a question.
But I guarantee you cannot prove to me today that you had an out-of-pocket loss. I said, I guarantee you cannot prove an out-of-pocket loss for a period of time, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, 10 months away. I guarantee it. Artist in 10 months, you can find somebody else to do a June wedding.
Correct.
Okay. She gets her money back. $931.65. She's got it back? You have it?
Yes.
You don't get it. Because it was taken out of your PayPal.
Well, that doesn't make sense to me, only because the invoice that was paid, it was an understanding through her because it
Just
states
a second.
that.
Don't tell me what she understood. You're trying to ask me to view the operation of her mind. I don't have to do that. You have a contract. It's a written contract. Mm-hmm. It sets the terms of this agreement. Nowhere in the agreement does it say the contract has a non-refundable deposit on the day that it's paid. She paid you and then got an invoice. You lose. You don't get the money back. Redo your contract. Put in your contract that somebody signs that this is a non-refundable deposit for this particular day. And if at any time you cancel, you lose your deposit.
That's what's said in the contract part of the invoice.
This is not a contract.
It says contract. It says policies on the invoice.
I don't care what it says. Your policy. I don't care if it says that this is your religion. I don't care if it says that this is what your mother taught you or your father taught you. This is your contract. This is not.
Okay.
Good.
That's a receipt?
Good. You don't get your money. Bye.
All right, excuse, you may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, now I'm going to make sure I include it. I'm going to make sure I include a whole lot of information so that I don't get screwed again.
I think that Alexandra's practices are a little deceptive
because of people that don't read their invoices.
Given that in the contract, nowhere stated was the money non-refundable.
It's time to move forward. I'm still going to do awesome makeup. I'm still going to be amazing and successful.
Or non-transferable. Only on the invoice after I had paid.
This is just one glitch that happened, and I'll move on from it.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Navarro versus Becue. Step forward.
Raymond Navarro is suing Alicia Becue for actual and punitive damages as a result of a dog attack.
Mr. Navarro, the defendant was selling something that you were interested in buying. You went to her house to look at the item, which was some sort of a speaker, and it is your claim that when you were there, one of her dogs bit you.
Yes,
And Miss Becue, I don't know what she says. I think what she's saying is it was your fault. And she does call it a bite. She calls it a nip. On what date did this happen, sir?
December 29, 2015.
You went to her house?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you go to the front door or to the garage?
At the garage.
Garage open or closed?
Yes, it's open, wide open.
And according to your complaint, there were 2 large dogs in the garage. Is that right?
Yes.
But neither of those dogs were the dogs that bit you?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, correct.
It was a third dog?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, where did the third dog come from?
Comes from inside the house.
Who opened the door?
She opened the door.
What did you open the door for?
Because he asked me to put my St. Bernard into the house.
When you opened the door, the other dog came out.
Well, I asked him to stay outside the garage.
I didn't ask you that question. What I asked you was when you opened the door, the other dog came out.
Yes.
The Australian Terrier was the dog that bit or nipped him, depending upon whether you are the victim or the owner of the dog. If you're the victim, it's a bite. If you're the owner, it's a nip. Do you have photographs of the nip?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have a doctor's report?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to take a look at both. When did you contact the defendant about your medical bills?
It was my lawyer who contacted her.
And was there any resolution?
The lawyer requested for a meeting so there would be a resolution, but she never came in.
Anything you want to tell me?
Yes, Your Honor. He asked me to bring the dog into the house. The dog could have stayed right where it was.
No,
it was
the dog.
leashed
Just a second. The dog, not the dog that bit him.
Yeah.
Okay. So
if I didn't open up the door, the dog would have never got out. And if he would have... yeah, he would.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning.
Okay, your defense is that he asked you, according to you, to put the other dog inside because the dog was barking. And you accommodated him by opening the door.
But I also asked him to stay out on the driveway, not to come into my garage. When I turned around, I unleashed the dog, turned around to put the dog into the house, and he was behind me. The dog started barking.
That's not screaming. The dog that bit him.
The dog in the house started barking. He started screaming, ah, ah! I turned around, I told him to stop. Stay right there, stop. Because you alert a dog, you show a dog you're scared, they get on a defense. So when he started screaming...
I have dogs. They don't get on the defense if you show them you're scared.
Well, he started screaming.
Maybe your dog.
The dog ran out, and and the dog nipped him.
Fine. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. We're finished. Thank you.
Argument excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
So get clever.
The situation.
Well, it's a fair decision, you know.
And if he didn't start running around screaming, the dog would have never bit him.
I had to walk out of the garage to avoid the dog, but the dog was too fast for me, and...
It's an Australian Shepherd. They're a herding dog.
She got me on my leg.
Go meet him at the fire department.
Not go to any more houses with dogs. That's it.
You may be seated.
Ms. Martinelli, you hired the defendant to do some work in your house. According to what I read, you had seen him doing some work cleaning out the gutters in a neighbor's house. You liked the work that he was doing. You hired him to do the same work in your house because the quote that you had gotten was substantially higher to do the same work that Mr. Lewis said he would do for you for $60.
$60, yes, ma'am.
He did the work. You were satisfied with the work. You said you had another project for him to do in your house, and that was to replace a sink and vanity in your bathroom. And you made a price with him to do that work. The price was?
$100, Your Honor.
$100. And what was he supposed to do for the $100, Ms. Martinelli?
He said he would, the new one was in the garage. He would take out the old one and
put the new one in.
And did that require any plumbing?
Yes, well, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And were you going to hire another plumber to do that?
No, he said he could do it.
That's fine. Well, that's quite a savings. So you see someone who is cleaning out gutters on a ladder, you like the work that they're doing, and you know how expensive it would be if you had to hire a plumber to come in to do that work. It probably would have cost you 5 or 6 times that.
Correct.
So you hired him for $100.
Yes.
And you didn't like the work he did. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Okay, now you're suing him. And you're suing him for a whole bunch of things. You say, A, he broke the marble top, he dropped it and broke the marble top for the vanity, and he didn't finish the job, forcing you to hire someone else to come in and do the job.
Correct.
All I want to know is, tell me about the marble top. Did it come in a separate box?
It was one box, the vanity and the marble top, and I asked him, I have a dolly, you can use the dolly to carry it in, and he said, no, I can carry it in on my own, and he lugged it in and then dropped the box.
Okay, now Mr. Lewis, do you see what a fair person I am?
Yes, Your Honor.
Fair. That is my middle name. Did you drop the box?
No, ma'am, I did not. As I was carrying the box, you could hear a piece jingling on the inside, and I said, that doesn't sound good. There was a piece rattling inside the box. When we opened the box, she was with me. We opened the box, there was a foam insert on each corner. There was a piece of foam insert that was not there. When we took it out of the box, it had a chip. She said, is it on the inside corner or outside corner?
She was there when you opened the box?
She was right next to me, in her living room.
Where had you purchased this from?
Home Depot.
How did you get it home?
That was transported in my daughter's car.
By whom?
My daughter and myself.
And was it in a crate?
It was in a big, heavy box, yes, ma'am.
Had you opened the box before Mr. Lewis arrived?
No.
Did you see him drop the box? Look at me.
Yes.
Did you see him drop the box?
No, I did not see him even open the box.
Did you see him drop the box?
No, ma'am.
So you don't know whether the marble top was cracked or not cracked before you brought it home?
It wasn't jingling. There was no noise in it.
I don't care.
Okay.
You didn't see him drop the box?
No.
Did he remove the old vanity?
Yes. Now, I did see him put the box down on the floor like that.
Ms. Martinelli, well, now you're changing your story. So now I know that you're as sweet a lady as you look. The first story that you gave me was not truthful. You're talking here about he dropped the box, you told him to use a dolly, he didn't use a dolly, he said I can carry it, and then he dropped the top and it broke. Well, that's a lie. And if you lie to me, all you have to do is lie to me once. He says you were there when he opened the top.
When he put the box on the floor, he dropped the box, he opened it up.
That's not a drop.
And it was
cracked. Okay, so far he owes you nothing. I'm going to repeat my question. Did he disassemble the old vanity and put it in your garage?
I had already left to go to Home Depot to get the replacement. Yes, he did, while I was gone.
The answer is yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when you came home?
When I came back, he was in the bathroom, and he had already taken out the old vanity, and, you know, it was a mess. And he carried in the other one, and meanwhile, I just let him do his job. I wasn't looming over him.
Just tell me what happened on that date. So you got it out of the car. Now, your daughter wasn't with you, so I assume...
She was there.
Oh, so who took the new top out of the car?
I don't recall if it was myself or all of us.
I took it out, Your Honor.
So he removed the vanity, the old one, disconnected it.
Right.
And took the new vanity and brought it into the house.
Correct.
Right now, he's earned $100, as far as I'm concerned. Now, let's go. What's next?
So basically...
Not basically. I don't want to hear basically,
okay.
Miss Martinelli. I want to hear what's next. I want to hear why you think you have a claim against him.
Well, he was texting me. He would be...
Not texting you. I want to know what happened.
He didn't finish the job.
Just a second. Now, he's got the vanity inside in your bathroom. And what happened next?
He had emergencies. He said he had to leave to go pay someone he owed $100 to.
Fine. At what time was this?
This would be 7:26. He needed more...
No.
On 7:25?
7:25.
It would have been in the afternoon.
Well, you went back to Home Depot. That takes time.
Yes, ma'am.
He takes the thing out. You go to Home Depot. You come back. At what time did he say, I have to leave now? I brought it in to the bathroom. Now I have to leave. I have to go pay somebody money. I would like my $100, which you gave him. What time? If you can't remember, I'm going to ask him.
It would be later in the afternoon.
So later in the afternoon. Give me a time later. 4:30, 5 o'clock?
I'm not sure, ma'am.
What time?
She actually gave me the money. It was on the Sunday. The job was started on a Monday. The reason the job did not get complete, she told me that she was donating the old one so don't break it. I took it out on a dolly, the bottom, put it in her garage, very neat, on a box off to the side. The reason the job didn't get complete, all that was left to be done was 2 pieces of trim.
I'm asking you a question. What time did you leave and say, I have to go?
Well, I didn't leave because of an emergency. She didn't have the plumbing fixtures to finish the job. She said she was going to pick those up either that night or tomorrow.
Okay, so you left because she didn't have the plumbing fixtures. Exactly what plumbing fixtures did she need, Mr.
When you
Lewis?
put the faucet in, the old one was 1 piece. It was soldered. They connect to the hot water underneath the sink and to the cold water. That's the only plumbing that you needed to do on this job. The new one had the top, but there were no connectors, the connectors that would run from the sink to the outlet in the wall.
You're shaking your head as if that is correct. So you did not have the required plumbing to complete the installation.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so he left.
Yes.
Now, in between that time, what did you do?
He sent me to Lowe's to get the piece of...
He didn't send you to Lowe's. How old are you?
Well, he said go to Lowe's down the street.
Just a second. He said you don't have the right fixtures, the same place you went. You can go to Lowe's. He doesn't care where you go. Either you go to Lowe's, you go someplace else. This is what you need.
Right.
And what happened next?
He told me what to get. He explained what the piece of the pipe was.
All right, so keep going.
So I went back to the house and I had the piece of the pipe. And then he
So
called...
you have the piece of the pipe.
Right.
So now he's waiting, according to you, he's waiting for you now twice because you didn't have things. You went back once to Home Depot and once to Lowe's to get the pipes.
Yes.
Okay, now, let me hear you.
So I waited for him. He said he couldn't do it the rest of the evening. It would be another day.
So he wasn't planning to work at night.
Right.
For the $100 that you were paying him. So he left.
Yes.
In the interim, what happened, Miss Martinelli? Now you have the pipe, and he's coming back. There's no question he was coming back, because even you don't deny he was coming back. In the interim, something happened. You want to tell me what it was, or you want me to surmise what it was? I suggest that you be truthful with me.
Absolutely.
Great. So far, you haven't been 100% truthful with me. I want you to tell me what happened between the time he left because you didn't have the right plumbing fixtures and the next couple of days. Well, let's have it.
The walls were all damaged and all the baseboards and everything was ripped out. And I got so many texts that he had all these multiple emergencies and couldn't come back to finish the job.
Just a second. I would like to see the days that he had multiple emergencies, that he couldn't come back and fix the job.
55 texts, 12 calls, and there's the Verizon letter stating I have a basic phone that...
I'm not interested in this. I want to see exactly what it says.
I have a basic phone, so it doesn't allow me to do that on my phone. He just kept calling with one excuse after the other.
You want to tell me what this is all about? Because I'm not getting it from her. I'm not getting it from her at all.
The only thing that I have come up with, I was shocked that we were even here.
Just a second. Let's go back. When were you scheduled to go back to finish the job?
That was what was odd. I responded to her 3 times. We responded through text because she didn't answer the landline. Sometimes she'd be outside. She said texting is the best way to get in touch with me. I texted her 3 times saying I can be there tomorrow between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock.
Do you have that on your text?
I have Boost Mobile. They would not allow me to print it out. I don't save my texts. I do not have them. I had basically sent her 3 texts. I said I'm getting ready to walk my dogs. If I don't answer or respond, I'll call you when I get back. I sent another text. I haven't heard from you. Nothing.
She had paid you the $100.
I had been paid.
Just a second, you had been paid?
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't have any texts?
I have a basic phone. That's just the list of all the texts.
This doesn't help.
Inundated with texts.
Okay, fine. So you paid him $100, and for the $100, this is what he did. He took out the old sink and the old vanity. He waited for you because it was broken. So you went to Home Depot. He came back. He took it out of the car, put the old vanity outside and stored it. He put the new vanity inside, and you didn't have the correct plumbing. You went back to Lowe's, whether it's that day or the next day. You may be confused, I'm not sure. According to you, you went back the same day to get the new plumbing, and he couldn't wait to work that evening. And then he never came back to finish the job. And since he never came back to finish the job, you're suing him for $1,049.
He called and said he needed more money.
Oh, now you have that. This is a new memory that you have.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Tell me when you thought it was inappropriate, because you haven't mentioned that so far.
Well, he lifted his shirt to show her his gunshot wounds, and made her feel very uncomfortable.
Good. So she's uncomfortable. And when did she tell you about that?
False restraining order, lost wages, and harassment.
Oh, this is a new memory. So now he said, I want more money to come and finish the job.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said no.
Yes.
So?
I never heard back. He was
good. Then you hired somebody else. He said, I want more money. one thing is to take out a thing and put it in, and I could do that 1, 2, 3 if all the plumbing things are right, but it wasn't 1, 2, 3. You had a broken unit that he had to wait for until you went and got a new one. I assume they gave you a new one, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I assume they gave you a new one. You didn't tell them that your handyman dropped it. You said it was broken in the package. I assume that that's what you said to Home Depot, because if you didn't say that to Home Depot, they would not have replaced it for free. Right. So when you told me he dropped it and broke it, you told a different story to the Home Depot people. Right. With the same big eyes, the same look. Right. Then he waited for you. You came back with it. And you put it in. And I said, where are the rest of the plumbing pieces? All this is for $100. Taking it in the car, taking it out of the car, storing it in the other garage. Now he says, this was supposed to be a one-day job. You want me to come back to finish this? It's going to cost you more money. You say no. Now I'd like to know what you're suing him for. So you hired somebody else to finish it.
He didn't do it correctly. It was damaged.
No, that's too bad. I don't see you're expert here about all the damage.
So far.
I want you to tell me this other nonsense that I read in your complaint, that you, A, thought he was inappropriate with your daughter or granddaughter. Was it your daughter?
My daughter.
Your daughter, inappropriate. Tell me when you thought he was inappropriate, because you haven't mentioned that so far.
Well, he lifted his shirt to show her his gunshot wounds. And made her feel very uncomfortable.
Good.
From
So she's uncomfortable. And when did she tell you about that?
Well, it was later after he was gone. She said, Mom, he lifted his shirt and showed me gunshot wounds.
Just a second. So, Mom, he lifted his shirt and showed me gunshot wounds.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you still wanted him to come back?
No, I went on to Facebook.
Oh, good. And then you went on Facebook.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you went on Facebook and did what?
I sent a notice out and said, has anyone ever done work for this Mr. Lewis? And I immediately got back 20, 30 hits. And they all said, buyer beware. He just got out of prison. And then they showed me what his charges were, and on and on.
And on and on. So I still don't know why you're here.
Well, because the damage to repair the whole vanity and sink, he ripped out the whole wall, all my baseboard to fix it.
You have no case. I don't believe a word you're saying to me.
I have everything here.
No, you don't. You don't have the person who fixed it here.
I had 3 people fix it.
I don't care if you had 12 people fix it. What you tried to do was to get something for nothing. You tried to get a $600 or an $800 job for $100. That's what you did. My problem is with his counterclaim, which I'm going to hear, because your case is dismissed.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The reason that I lifted my shirt up, her daughter had showed me a big scar from surgery she had on her knee. I said, oh, well, I have one of those on my chest.
Did your daughter have a scar on her knee? Just make sure I get an answer from you that is believable.
Dinelli has accused handyman Matthew Lewis of owing for a refund, property damage, and locks.
Now, what I want to know, Mr. Lewis, is you have a counterclaim. And your counterclaim is that she's spreading rumors around town, and these lies have a direct effect on my income. So there's no question that you're trying to work. I assume that it's true that you have history with the police of being incarcerated.
It is.
When was the last time you were incarcerated?
I've spent 13 months in prison from April 2013 to 2014.
Since then?
I spent one night in for a probation violation because when I went to my probation...
Don't tell me why. You spent one night in for a probation violation since 2014. What else?
That's it. I did have a trouble pass after my gunshot, and the reason that I had lifted my shirt up, her daughter had showed me a big scar from surgery she had on her knee. I said, oh, well, I have one of those on my chest. I was only shot once, and I did fall into using drugs, and I got in a lot of trouble. My life spiraled downward faster than you can imagine. I have a very bad reputation.
Did your daughter have a scar on her knee from a surgery?
I'm
asking you a question.
No, there's no scar on her knee.
Did your daughter ever have surgery on her knee? Just make sure I get an answer from you that is believable. Did your daughter ever have surgery?
She has had surgery, but there's no scar there.
I'm asking you whether your daughter ever had surgery on her knee.
But there's no scar.
Show me your proof that she's been slandering you. Show me.
Well, she took out a restraining order against me to start off with. Then she had this posted here.
Can I see the restraining order?
And when I went to court for it, she didn't show up and got dismissed. Secondly, there was...
Just a second.
Okay. Yes, Your Honor.
I would like to see what allegations she's making with regard to the restraining order.
Oh, that's the 2 pages.
Just a second. This is outrageous. Why would anybody give you a temporary restraining order based upon this? Just a second. Well, let me see. Because right now, you can look at me with those big eyes all all the time. Right now, we've lied several times today. Miss Martinelli, let me tell you, he may be a convicted felon, but so far, these are the following lies that you've told to me. A, you told me he dropped the box and it broke. He didn't drop the box. You never saw him drop the box. Then you went back to Home Depot and told them that it came cracked, and therefore they reissued you a new one because it was their fault. This man is not a mind reader. How would he know that your daughter had surgery on her knee unless she told him and showed him what she perceived to be a scar? Then you file a restraining order that I don't understand.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The contact was, the following has been done to the plaintiff on more than one occasion. Defendant knocked on neighbor's door to clean gutters. Neighbor did not recognize him, allowed him to complete the task. Defendant approached plaintiff and asked if I had worked gutters. Confirmed I did and permitted him to complete the job. Asked defendant if he knew how to remove and install bathroom vanities. Said he did. Had open container of alcohol in his hand at this point. Demanded cash up front, $100 to complete the job. Did a quarter of the work and called 7 times with excuses why he couldn't do the job. Wanted more money.
That's correct.
Actually, Miss Martinelli, you are outrageous. I'm so glad that they dismissed your application for a protective order against him. So thrilled that they did that. So he has 2 causes of action. Money owed for filing a false restraining order because he had to go to work. He had to leave whatever he was doing to go to court. Did you show up for the protective order?
They told me I did not need to.
Judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim for $800. Your case is dismissed. We're done.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
What, 55 texts? I can't come, my dog threw up.
She posted all kinds of awful things about me, things of my past.
My grandma tripped. I mean, he always had an excuse.
There's 10 customers that I had. None of them are even contacting me or will return my calls at this point.
And then the phone calls where he would call me, several cussing me out names.
And once that was all brought to my attention, it kind of infuriated me, and I said, look, it's time for me to do something about this.
Frightened me. The policeman came over and said, you need to file a restraining order immediately.
I did have the past, but it didn't have anything to do with her hiring me for the work, and it wasn't my fault that the job didn't get complete.
And also small claims, which is exactly what I did. I followed the policeman's report.
It's a small town, and that's something that I am trying to overcome, so I go out of my way to try to help people.
I worry about other people he's going to take advantage of.
And honest work for people, and that's what I was doing for her, and I feel that came back to kind of bite me.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2062, Bahar versus Soroki.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Bahura, how old are you?
38.
What do you do for a living?
I used to be a cosmetologist.
What do you do now?
I'm not doing anything right now.
Who are you living with?
I lived in hotels. I'm staying now with a friend for 3 weeks.
How do you support yourself?
I'm on income that comes every month. I'm on disability right now.
Is your disability of a physical nature or psychological nature?
It's both.
And how much do you collect from disability?
Around $900.
A month?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long have you been on disability?
About 10 years.
10 years? And when were you a cosmetologist?
I started back when I was 16, during high school time. And I started doing hair, and I went to hair school, and then I ended up getting really sick. So I went back and forth to doing hair. And then I just couldn't do it anymore.
Well, when did you said you were a cosmetologist? When were you a cosmetologist?
During high school year, so it was like around 2000.
Oh, well, that's a long time ago. We're talking about ancient history.
Yes.
So what you're telling me is that since you were in your mid-20s, you have been on disability.
Yes.
And how old are you, sir?
69.
You're a single man.
Yes, ma'am.
And tell me how you met the plaintiff.
About 4 years ago, she called me. I do auto brokering, where somebody wants a vehicle, and I go to the dealer and try to make the best deal for them, just like a real estate agent.
Tell me how she got your number.
So I advertise on Facebook, I advertise on LinkedIn. So I don't know exactly how she got my number.
How'd you get his number?
The truth is, I never got his number. What happened was, when we talk about, I'm looking for a car, I'm selling, I want to sell my car, he messaged me, hey, I sell cars, I can help you.
That's
2-3 years.
True.
That's very true. I have all the messages through Facebook and everything. But he messaged me, I can help you. How are you? Good morning. I said, okay, you can help me. But
okay, I got enough.
Yeah.
All right, so let me sort of outline this case the way I am now putting it all together. You came on to some hard times, harder than usually your life is because of your disability, and you were in your apartment, according to you, and the building had a fire. Because of the fire, you became homeless. You had already known the defendant. He did something for you with a car. And you were living alone, I assume, in this apartment. $790 for the apartment that burned down.
I'm sorry, $690. I apologize, $690.
And how long had you lived there?
It would have been 5 years exactly.
Okay, it would have been 5 years before the place burned down.
Ma'am.
And
Your Honor?
what?
They were evicting her.
At the time of the fire?
Yes,
No.
yes. And then...
Just a sec, 1 sec. Don't shout out again. However, I find that interesting. She was living there for 5 years, and how do you know that she was being evicted?
She showed me the paperwork.
May I see it?
Yeah, it's my phone. Here's the letter that she had with the management.
Okay, good. Thank you. I just see your request for a hearing, and the hearing was for what?
It was dismissed. I had...
No. The hearing's for what? Was it for an eviction?
No.
What was it for?
I had COVID, and I had Sarah Pay.
Are you not understanding me?
No. A hearing for what? I'm sorry.
I said, was the proceeding an eviction notice?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't an eviction notice.
They don't have proceedings for COVID. They have an eviction case. You may say, I don't have money because of COVID, and they give you time to pay. Were you served with an eviction notice?
A warning to go to court.
Just a second.
Yes,
for what? For speeding, for robbery, for assault, or for an eviction?
For non-payment.
For eviction. Listen. For eviction.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
Only because when I told the judge said it's not an eviction.
I don't care what you told the judge. You were brought to court for an eviction. Kevin, would you return the stuff, please? Just a second. Sarah. Just a second. Ms. Bahara, let me explain something to you. I don't know whether you watch me in the past or whether you don't watch me in the past, but I want you to know that I know exactly who you are. I know exactly how you live. I know exactly how you support yourself. I know who you are. I know all of that. So let's not play with each other. For an eviction, the answer is yes. You want to explain it to me if I ask you what happened? Well, I paid it, and that COVID, they couldn't throw me out because it was COVID. You're not allowed to evict somebody during COVID. You want to explain that to me if I'm interested? That's fine. But if I say to you, were you summoned to court for an eviction? The answer is...
Yes. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Whether that had any impact on the fire in this building, I have no idea.
No, I don't...
I have no idea. The plaintiff says she was a heroine in this fire, according to her complaint, and she got a lot of people out of the building, and the things in her apartment were unscathed. Now, prior to that time, had you done anything other than help her secure a car?
No.
Did you help her secure a car?
No, I couldn't get it because her credit was terrible.
Just a second. Did she want a car?
Yes.
Okay, what kind of a car did she want? That's the reason that you met.
The first time, something inexpensive like a GMC Terrain. The second time, she wanted a 2017 or 2018 Lincoln. I think it's MKX or MKZ.
What was she driving when she contacted you? Nothing.
Right.
Did she ever buy a car?
For me, no. But she did get one from a dealer. I don't know how they did it because...
Uncross.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you currently own a car?
No, I don't own a car. Well, now I have a car, yes.
That's what I am.
Yes.
Yes, do you understand? You have to let me introduce you to the truth. Mr. Truth, I'd like you to meet the plaintiff. Do you have a car?
Yes, ma'am.
No, you're only nervous now because you know I understand you. You now have a car. And where are you living now?
With my friend.
Where were you living prior to that?
Hotel rooms.
When did you purchase the car?
March 27th.
What kind of car did you buy?
That was the Terrain.
What year?
2017.
How much was it?
With everything, I think it went to $24,000.
How much of a down payment did you put down?
$2,000.
And you financed the rest with whom?
They financed it with...
They had to go to a third-party lender.
I don't care. Do I look like I need your help?
No.
No. No, because I'm trying to find out how this lady put down on a car. Car has insurance, car has gas, car has expense. You have to buy food. You need to take care of your hair. Looks like you buy nice clothes. Looks like you have some jewelry that's more than $900 a month. And you've been really on the doles for a decade. So I'm just trying to square all this with what I'm seeing. Do you understand where I'm going? Great. Okay. Now, so this is what you're complaining about. The Defendant, after you called him, said, well, I have a spare room in my condo. You can come with me. And you say, well, I have all my stuff that I've accumulated in my apartment, and I have only one storage unit to put it in, and I'll have to pick through and discard stuff, blah, 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 because I can't afford a second storage unit. And according to you, the defendant said, I'll pay for the second storage unit. And at some point after you moved in with him and threw you out, he reversed the charges, and so you were charged for your storage unit for your stuff. That's part of your lawsuit, $600. Now, the main part of your complaint, for which you want almost $6,000, is for punitive damages because you claim that Mr. Soroki, while you were living with him, rent-free, food-free, everything free, made unwanted advances towards you. And I'm certain that what you did was put in this complaint the most egregious things that he did to you, because you would want me to know the most egregious things that he did to you, right? Okay.
As for the money, the way it was saved, I had to go.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't tell me you had a GoFundMe page.
I did. I did. It was for the fire.
Just a second.
It was his idea, too.
No.
I got it.
Got it? Oh, I'm dying to see that.
Douglas Soroki owes for storage fees and a wrongful eviction. Douglas is countersuing for property damage and false accusations.
So let me read to you what you say he did to you, the unwelcomed advances. He would walk around the house in his underwear.
Yes, ma'am.
Just, I didn't ask you anything. These are the most egregious things. And he patted my behind when he walked past me.
Not true.
Now, just a second. Those were the first two things that you tell me that he did to you. Now, how many times do you say he touched you?
Between 7 and 8 times.
7 to 8 times. Okay. When did you live with him?
I moved in March 5th of the fire.
And how long did you stay?
Till the 31st.
Of what?
Of March.
And what happened on the 31st of March?
I was trying to make phone calls to get a car behind his back because he took the privileges from using his car.
Just a second. So while you were living with him, he let you use his car when you needed it. And then he told you couldn't use his car anymore?
So he didn't tell me. What he did was on the 24th, he said, we're going to go to my son-in-law. I sold the car to some lady. Come with me. Let's drop it off, which is the Cadillac that I'm using because he has 2 cars. He ended up getting the electric Audi. He said, just use my car. Now, keep in mind, he's letting me use that car since March 3rd. March 4th, my house burns down at 1 a.m. So he goes and gives a car to some lady. We drop it off all the way.
Date?
March 24th, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so that's March 24th.
So I have no more car at this point. So the Cadillac is gone now.
You didn't have a car when you were living someplace else. So moving in with him, you had a car.
Yes.
Which was very nice because you hadn't had a car previous to that. So now we dropped the car off and now you didn't have a car.
Yes.
That's March 24th.
Right.
Then what happened?
I was trying to still figure out, and we had talked.
You tried? You didn't finish to say you were trying to figure out what?
Figure out how to get a car, like to see what I can do.
Okay, so you were trying to get a car.
As for the money, the way it was saved, I had to go.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't tell me you had a GoFundMe page.
I did. I did. It was for the fire.
Just a second.
It was his idea, too.
No.
I got it.
Got it? Oh, I'm dying to see that. Okay. Take them back. I don't know how that would be affected by your disability because clearly you were able to drive. I'm going to get past that. We're back to March 24th. Now you're making calls when he's not around to try to get a car because you no longer have a car. You leave on March 31st. You want to tell me what the circumstances were that caused you to leave on March 31st?
So March 26th, he said, can you please go to a friend's house? I'm bringing a girl over. I said, yes, no problem. It's his house.
Okay.
You can do that. I said, can you please drop me off? I have a friend that was supposed to be my witness today. She wasn't feeling good. Can you drop me off because it's only 15 minutes where he's from? He said, yes, no problem.
And when you slept in the defendant's condo, You had your own room?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So we got up and everything was fine. He was rushing me out. We were talking, and as he showed me a picture of who he's bringing, I told Doug, shut my room door because I have stuff in there. So he dropped me off. I went to my friend. It was actually my friend's birthday.
I don't care.
Okay. So in the morning at 10 a.m., I get a text message showing me a one dish plate on the sink. And he's like, you couldn't do a dish? I said, I cleaned the whole house. I said, anyway, I said, should they drop me off or do you want to come get me? I want to come back home. He's like, no, I'll come get you. I'll pick you up. He came, he got me. We sat in the car. I said, hi. He's like, I asked you to do one fit. I said, wait, the dish? I said, I cleaned the whole house and everything. We went back to the house.
Then what happened?
He knocks on the door and he says, pack up. I'm calling you Uber, leave. I said, I have nowhere to go. Where am I going to go? What do you mean leave? He's like, I just don't want you here anymore.
Now, this is on the 27th. He tells you to leave. You call the police.
No, he called the police. I told him to call the police.
No,
Oh,
didn't tell
just a second, because you didn't want to leave. Because
didn't have nowhere to go.
Because you didn't want to leave.
It's not that I didn't have nowhere to go. I had no car to leave anywhere.
Well, just a second. Are you living at a hotel after this?
I did.
After this. And how did you get to the hotel?
The guy that I purchased the car from brought it to his house, brought me that car
so
on the 31st.
Just a second. So he asked you to stay?
1 week.
Yes.
1 week. They tell you could...
was there was two cops.
I don't need a whole story. Did they
He
let
said,
you
how
stay?
long would you like for you to have? I said, I need some time. I have nowhere to go. That's when... Yes, ma'am.
A week. But you left on the 31st. Did anything else happen between the 27th and the 31st?
No.
You packed up your things.
Yes.
And a car was delivered.
Yes.
And you left.
Yes.
There were no incidents.
No.
And so just so that I'm totally clear and understand, on the 27th, you were in a safe place in somebody's house. You have your own bank account because GoFundMe?
I have the page.
Oh, may I see it, please?
Sure. And the description
Okay.
is here. And that's how much it's...
Okay. My name is Marilyn, and I'm a fire survivor. Place where I lived caught fire. I left my apartment to go upstairs. I knew it was too late for one of my neighbors. I had to scream. I will make a long story short. It's taken a toll on me and everyone else. My main goal was to save everybody. We ended up losing everything because we had to leave the premises, and we were not allowed to go back for 24 hours to remove what was left in our apartment. As for me, I now have nowhere to go, and I need help to get into a place. I had to borrow a friend's transportation to get around, rent out a storage, and put everything there that I can. At this point in my life, it feels like a dream, and so far, you asked for $7,000, and so far you raised $1,772 from soft-hearted Americans. These people got to stay off the internet. I find it unbelievable for a person as strong as you are that if he was doing these things that were so irritating to you, there's the door. And you've managed to find a place to go and find... Don't speak back to me.
Marilyn Bahura has accused her former friend, Douglas Soroki, of sexual harassment while living with him. Douglas says Marilyn...
Before.
No.
You told me you didn't have a car before. Is that what you said, Whitney?
Time, yes.
She didn't have a car before.
During that time.
Well, at that time is what I'm talking about. At the time of the fire, when you were living at this $690 a month apartment, you didn't have a car. You see, what I don't understand, madam, is that in the whole litany of your travails and troubles with the defendant, it sounded to me, a little bizarre. Taking in somebody he didn't know, dating somebody else, bringing somebody else to his house. But he's a 69-year-old man. He can do what he wants to do. He's not asking you for anything. You pay for your own storage. If you had to pay for your own storage, pay it out of the GoFundMe page. The thing that's most irritating to me is that you now, in order to get money from him, you sued him for sexual advances. And if they were so horrific to you, you've lived in motels before. You've lived in hotels before. You have friends. But it's sort of outrageous to try to convince me that you were so outraged by his conduct and still stayed. And when he tried to get you out, try to convince the police to let you stay because it was your home. That's what I don't understand.
The police said that she has...
Just a second. Do you understand what I just said?
Everything you're saying is not how it happened. Everything's a lie because he gave me the car 2 days before the fire. He told me I have an extra room. I'm going to help you come clean my house. I'll give you $300. Get back on. This is the truth. I'll get you back on your feet. I did lose my home. I did save people. Yes, I am.
You're not understanding what I'm saying?
I was over there for free. I paid for food. I helped him too. The car he'd give me, I go back and forth, help him bring in his papers to the car dealerships.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think he owes you for? You're going to pay your own storage unit. That's why you went on a GoFundMe page.
He said do the GoFundMe. He called one of his friends from California. He's the one that sent $500. Yes, I saved it. That money from the GoFundMe and from whatever I got from my friend, I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. This is all him saying.
Take care of yourself. I find it unbelievable for a person as strong as you are that if he was doing these things that were so irritating to you, there's the door. And what I have a problem with is that some people really are subject in their workplace, in a domestic situation, abusive people. And when you try to use it to get money from, well, that's what you're here for. That's what you're suing him for. $6,000.
Right,
$6,000. $6,000.
I could have.
Just a second. Just a second. Don't tell me you had nowhere to go. You've had some place to go for 38 years. For 38 years, you've managed to find a place to go and find. Don't speak back to me. You've managed to find some place to go for 38 years and without working, hustle to live. However that was, whether it's through relief or food stamps or disability payments or cosmetics on the side, you've managed to not work and live. Well, that's what you told me. That's what you told me. Don't look quizzically. You've managed to not work and to live. Somebody who may have had ulterior motives. 70 doesn't go into 38, sir. 38 goes into 70, but 70 doesn't go into 38. So I would stay within my ballpark if I were you. Do you understand? And it doesn't belie credulity, which means I can actually understand that a single guy, 70 years old, now has somebody who's relatively attractive that he's extended a hand to come and live with him, and he made an agreement with her. I don't even have to go into it, that she would take care of the apartment, she would clean up the apartment, she wouldn't have to pay you rent, she could use your car, all of that stuff. And there is no question in my mind, in your head, that somewhere down the pike there was going to be a payday. Just a second. Maybe, maybe not. However, the plaintiff has 2 good feet, and she was out of your house, and she insisted on coming, as she calls it, home. I had to go home. And then when the police came, she insisted on staying home. You made a mistake.
I made a mistake.
You made a mistake.
Yeah.
Your mistake just got dressed down in an international forum, because there's no question in my mind that this lady who lives by her wits, if she didn't want to live someplace, she wouldn't live there. So your case is dismissed, as is your counterclaim. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I am a very humble person. I don't hurt people. I'm a giver.
Well, she knew that the girl was lying, and I knew that she'd catch it right up front.
She's the judge, right? But, the real judge is God. That's who I put my faith in.
You can't do anybody a favor. She had a fire.
And she may have seen me dressed up nice. I'm going to take care of myself, whether I am homeless or not.
She called me at 1 or 2 in the morning, had nowhere to stay, so I let her in.
I'm not going to come as a scrub. I'm not a scrub, so...
People have to be so careful on GoFundMe, and there's no fact check on the internet. There's no way to tell whether she really did lose her belongings and was homeless from a fire or not. People can write whatever they want on the internet. And it really rubbed me the wrong way, because I thought I read in her sworn papers for today, she said, I was able to save most of my belongings because my unit did not burn to the ground. And you read the complete opposite on her GoFundMe page, that she was using to solicit money from innocent people online. And that really rubs me the wrong way, because you're going to swear to this here in court today, but there is no such sworn testimony for the internet.
We've seen a few cases like that, even people feigning illness. And it's actually just a testament of the good-hearted people that live in this country that will give a total stranger based upon
a caption,
$10, $100. It just makes them feel better. But when you find somebody who abuses it, it really hurts everybody because people will look at these GoFundMe pages, some of which are legitimate, as potential scams.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a woman who lives by her wits, and he's an older guy who should know.
Eyes.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge.
Hi.
Case number 2046, Rapp versus Hall.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Rapp, not a very difficult case. The defendant was a friend of yours / did some work for you. It's not really relevant how you met him. It was sort of through a social situation. And it is your claim that over a period of time, Mr. Rapp forged your signature to several checks.
Correct.
And then when confronted by the fact that you've discovered these forgeries and asked him for money, he filed a restraining order against you to keep you away from him, and you say that the restraining order was a false one, and you want to be compensated for having to deal with that.
I do. I missed work.
Just a second. So I'm going to deal with the restraining order first. When did you file a restraining order, Mr. Hall?
I believe it was the 17th of July.
Of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
So not so long ago. I'd like to see the paperwork that you filed in support, just the paperwork that you gave to the court in support of your restraining order. Why you were asking for a restraining order. Let's just be clear. You filed all these documents with the court when you asked for a restraining order.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I've read some of the text messages, and you're aware of what the text messages say.
Yes.
I assume you're aware of what they say. Uncross your hands.
Oh, yes.
And that part of your application for damages as a result of filing a false restraining order is denied. You can't even suggest in a text message that you're going to do something violent in order to get him to pay money that you owe. Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay, so as
Although
frustrated...
the restraining order was dismissed.
It doesn't matter. I'm telling you, I've read it, and some of your text messages say the fact that in the text messages, you make certain threats. What if I could? And all that transpired at a time when the defendant reconciled with his wife and family. So, as I said, as a result of reading your text messages, I believe that Mr. Hall had the right to feel threatened and to file for a restraining order. Whether the court that heard the application for a restraining order felt that your behavior warranted a restraining order is another thing. But I can understand why he would file a restraining order to try to keep you away from him and his family.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Great. Now I want you to tell me why you forged her name to checks.
Because she...
$8,800 worth of checks. Now you had the right to file a restraining order.
Because she asked me to do this.
Because she asked you to forge her name to the checks.
Yes.
Okay, I want you to tell me when the first time she asked you to forge her name to a check. And I assume, just like you've kept all these documents.
Yes, ma'am.
Forge my name to a check.
Okay.
Take the money out and forge my name to a check. Don't say anything. Just show me. Don't shake your head. It's annoying.
I believe this is the first one.
Okay. So in that one, she asks you to sign. Well, maybe. What are you showing me?
The check.
I don't want to see the check. You know how you kept these text messages that you texted back and forth and back and forth? I want you to show me, because you're methodical, one time out of the 6-7 times that you forged her name to checks, show me one time where she said to you in a text message, in an Instagram, in a pigeon note, where she said to you, take out a check from my checkbook and forge my name to it because I want you to have money. Just show me.
I don't have
Of course
like
not.
That. No.
Of course
No,
not.
I don't.
Now, you and Miss Rapp engaged in at that time that she told you to forge her name to a check.
Okay, so I'm an electrician, and I've been an electrician for 13 years. I've been doing side work all around my county, and there's a handful of liquor stores that trust me that I can go and cash personal checks that I get paid for doing my side work. Miss Rapp knew that, and...
Don't tell me what she knew.
Okay. All right. So she would be locked out of her account for one reason or the other. And she would ask me like on a Friday, she wouldn't be able to get access to her money. And I knew she had money.
Well, she couldn't get access to her money, so these weren't your checks you wrote out. You wrote out her checks. It'd be frozen out whether you went to take out money or she went to take out money.
Right. Also, on a Friday, the liquor store would not deposit these checks until Monday. So I cashed these checks for her to give her cash.
Did you ever have sex with the plaintiff?
No.
Do you think she wanted to have a relationship with you?
I think so. Okay. I don't know.
What makes you think so?
Well, the
text message.
The text message.
The text message that she said to you. And who is Robert?
Is her ex-boyfriend.
And do you know Robert?
I do.
How do you know Robert?
I'd known Robert.
Not an answer.
It was after.
It was after.
Yes.
Okay. Give me an idea of when. You've cashed the first check in December of 2021. Give me some idea of when you were aware of the fact that the plaintiff and your dear friend of 20 years were no longer an item. Is not an answer.
I don't know what month he was arrested. So
arrested for?
June, maybe.
Arrested for?
I don't know his charges.
I don't believe that.
Okay.
I want to.
Her friend and handyman, Brandon Hall, forged her checks and filed a false restraining order against her. Brandon says he had Leslie's permission to write the checks.
I'm just telling you, I don't believe that you don't know the charges of somebody who you were friendly with for 20 years and who was arrested. I don't believe that you don't know because it belies credulity. Okay?
That's fine.
Yes. Did you ever do any work for her before Robert was arrested?
No.
When did you and your wife separate? Month and year?
Maybe February of 21.
And were you still together with Robert in February of 2021?
Yes.
And when did you and the lovely Robert separate?
Robert was removed from my life August 11th of 21.
The defendant acknowledges in his answer that he forged your name, not only your name, your signature, but wrote out checks, actually wrote out in his own handwriting, checks in the amount of $8,800.
Yes.
And he acknowledges that, but he says they were because you asked him to, or it was for work he did for you. Those were your answers, right?
No, these checks were not for any jobs that I did for her. They were strictly to get access to some of her money during the weekends and stuff. And then when she was out of town as well.
Get her access to her money and when she was out of town.
When she was out of town,
if you cashed her checks when she was out of town, how did she get money?
I Venmo'd the money to her.
Okay, so that you have a record of, that you Venmo'd the money to her.
Yes.
I'd like to see, not to confuse me, I'm an old person. I want to see only the monies, because she's going to show me the checks that you forged. And contemporaneously, which is a close period of time, with those forged checks, you would have put the money in her Venmo account.
On a couple of different occasions, yes.
Just a second. Just show me those cases. She's going to take out the checks that you forged. And those checks should coincide date-wise with the Venmo transactions. Am I doing that right?
Venmo. Yeah.
Venmo.
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't see where I have the ones that I deposited in her account. These seem to all be her depositing into my account.
Duh.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I do have.
So let us understand this. Mr. Hall, how many weekly payments did you make to her on Friday?
I have a list of that from
February.
This is from Mrs. Rapp in.
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you, how many payments did you make for writing these unauthorized checks to her?
Seven.
And what was the total amount of those checks?
$3,700.
Why in the world would you pay her $3,700?
If you could look in those messages, I was being. She was saying she was going to put me in jail for doing things.
For forgery.
Okay.
For forgery.
Right.
And you asked her not to.
Right.
And you said, I'll pay you back.
Right.
Right. I'll pay you back. Just give me some time. I have 2 kids to support.
Right.
Is that what you said to her?
Yes.
$8,800 judgment for the plaintiff. We're done here.
Please adjourn.
Well, I'm happy about the outcome because
I think it's bogus, man.
I really need the money.
Because she started all this craziness as soon as I went back to my wife.
There was never a relationship.
Sure.
It's definitely time for a new handyman.
Just a casual note.
Yeah.
I have been with my husband, your